It's officially spooky season, which means it's time to make everything in the shape of skulls and coffins, wear nothing but black lace, watch spooky movies, and eat nothing but candy corn for the next 31 days. Hi y'all, SnarkyJay cosplay here. So last year I made a video of some of my 10 favorite or must-watch movies during spooky season, and this year I've selected yet another 10 for you folks to watch to kick off the spooky season and enjoy it as we go through. There are probably going to be some surprises on this list. I do not consider myself a spooky movie connoisseur, but I am somebody who watches a lot of loves creepy things, so with that being said, let's get into 10 spooky movies you should watch this spooky season. Also, quick reminder that this is not in any particular order, so please put your pitchforks away. Thank you! Number 1. The Amityville Horror. We're gonna get a little old school with this one. The Amityville Horror is a classic that's been told time and time again. It follows a family terrorized by all kinds of spooky shit after they move into their new home, which happens to be the scene of a recent mass killing. Since 1979, there's been 26 sequels and spin-offs, but the original has a charm that's worth delving into for the spooky season. Plus, Amityville Horror is based on the supposedly true story of the Lutz family. If you're anything like me, watching a movie like this is more than enough to launch you down a rabbit hole of podcasts and Reddit threads to last you the entire month of October. Number 2. The Babadook. This low-budget Australian psychological horror film has everything. A creepy book featuring one up-looking monster, a disturbed kid who should have been named birth control in the script, and a mom whose exhaustion and frantic energy carries the film all the way through. In my opinion, this movie is incredibly underrated and aged really well for being 10 years old already. I think it's both creepy and unique, and it does a brilliant job of making you feel like you're stuck in the creepiness with the admittedly exhausting main cast. Number 3. Beetlejuice. I'm firm in my belief that the sequel was unnecessary and lackluster, so my recommendation here is the original from 1988. Beetlejuice follows the story of the Maitlands, a young couple who die in a car accident and are doomed to haunt their home, which is purchased and taken over by the Dietz family. The couple bring on the help of an energetic and seedy guide from the underworld played by the incomparable Michael Keaton, who sets out to help them scare off the Dietz family for good. It's an offbeat, colorful, classic work from Tim Burton that has not just clever spooky elements to it, but it's also just fun and definitely gives off the kind of vibes that Halloween should have. And notice I didn't say it 3 times, I'm safe. Number 4. An American Werewolf in London. I have to tell you guys a pretty funny story about this one. My dad, years ago, told me that this was the movie that traumatized him the most. He was around 10 or so when this movie released, and apparently just the beginning of the movie alone was enough to traumatize him to talk about it for the next 40 or so years of his life. I finally got around to watching it last month, and I was admittedly blown away. The synopsis is simple. American college students, David and Jack, are attacked by a wolf while backpacking through Britain. When David survives with none other than a werewolf bite, he not only begins his transformation, but he's also plagued by visions of his undead friend Jack, who warns him of the horrors about to befall him. American Werewolf in London is delightfully creepy at times, but it's also got a vintage cheesiness to it that I love. It'll make you laugh, creep you out, and if you like special effects, it's actually super ahead of its time and has one of my personal favorite werewolf designs in any horror movie ever. Number 5. Late Night with the Devil. This one's a fairly new one. It got released sort of quietly in March of this year. It's almost a lost tape type thing, from a fictional 1977 TV broadcast that goes wrong and essentially unleashes the ultimate evil upon the world. I don't know what I expected from this one, but I actually really enjoyed it. It's got a certain level of old-fashioned cheesiness to it, but there are points that are genuinely disturbing and unsettling. Plus, David Dastmalchian puts on an incredible performance, and this is one of those movies that genuinely left me feeling anxious and unsettled at the end, so I would say this one's definitely worth a watch. Number 6. The Haunting of Hill House. Now, before you pull out your pitchforks and attack me in the comments section, I know that this one is not a movie. It's actually a TV series on Netflix. However, I would be remiss to not include it as a must-watch for this year's spooky season. Based on a Shirley Jackson novel, this series follows the story of siblings who grew up in a haunted house and ended up plagued by tragedy as a result for literally the rest of their lives. This show has strong performances and phenomenal effects. It's got good scares, real tension, and also some heartstring tugging moments. It's also only 10 fairly digestible episodes, so you can either binge watch it in a week or give yourself 2 to 3 to watch every week and make it last the entire month of October. Number 7, Jeepers Creepers. I'm including this one because for me, it's the original horror movie. I was traumatized by this one entirely too young, and it's always stuck with me. Siblings Trish and Derry, the latter of which is played by the incomparable Justin Long, are on their way home from college when they encounter something horrifying in the basement of an old abandoned church. Things go to hell in a handbasket from there, and I love it. Look, scarecrows, cornfields, old abandoned churches, and disturbed older women are all just part of Halloween. Plus, the monster is one of my favorites I've ever seen, and I really like the whole concept and story behind this one. Number 8, Halloween. There's been more entries to this franchise than I care to remember, 13 to be exact, so let's stick to the original. You know the deal. Michael Myers kills his sister, comes back after a long prison stint to wreak havoc on his hometown of Haddonfield, Illinois. It's often credited with being the original slasher film, one of the greatest horror films ever made. It's literally preserved in the Library of Congress, and over 40 years later, it is still worth watching to see Jamie Lee Curtis as the original final girl. Number 9, The Crow. Will SnarkyJay ever stop talking about The Crow? No! It's been 13 years since I first saw it, and I'm still stuck in this hole, so I'm dragging you people with me. Quick synopsis for those that haven't heard me talk about it a million times before. Musician Eric Draven and his fiancée are brutally murdered on Devil's Night, and a year later he rises from the grave to avenge them. We're now living in an era where I have to say The Crow 1994 to make sure folks don't immediately imagine Bill Skarsgård and that Lionsgate failure, but this is still an ideal spooky season movie. It's vintage gothic grunge, it's got sick face paint and almost as much leather as The Matrix, and it literally takes place in the shittiest part of Detroit in non-stop rain the night before Halloween, and then spills over into Halloween too, so you might as well just paint your face, make some popcorn, and settle in to enjoy. Number 10, The Cabin in the Woods. This incredibly underrated film is now almost 10 years old, but it really holds up. It's a deceptively simple concept. 5 college friends book a forest cabin for a little getaway, and they're eventually attacked by zombies. However, with everything in this movie, there is so much more than meets the eye. This is an incredibly meta film that not only pokes fun at horror stereotypes, but it also feels like a love letter to the genre itself. With fun performances and Easter eggs referencing other horror films over the years, I'd argue that this is an ideal one to watch with friends to get into the spirit. Well folks, this is the second selection of spooky films that I deliver upon you. Again, I'm not saying that these are the best of the best. I am, however, giving them my snarky seal of approval for you guys to check them out and let me know if you enjoy them. I hope you guys enjoy some of these films, and I hope you're all getting as into the spooky season as I am. And that's all from me. I've been SnarkyJay. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. For more SnarkyJay, be sure to check me out on Instagram, and if you'd like to support me, this channel, and my content creation, do check out and consider subscribing to my Patreon for exclusive photo shoot sets and cosplay content. I will add links to all of those in the description below, and let me know your thoughts on these 10 spooky season movies in the comments below.